You may think you know Merlin, the wizard in blue, starry robes who stood at King Arthur's side as he took the throne of Camelot. But that's only the echo of a myth. In 2024, deep within the archives of Cambridge University Library, scholars found something extraordinary on a fragment of parchment that had been used as a bookbinding. Using a hyperspectral imaging camera, they revealed a forgotten legend, one so powerful it cracks open the very foundations of Arthurian legend and changes everything we thought we knew about its most powerful wizard. This Merlin was not the wise old sage of bedtime stories. He was a blind harpist whose music froze armies, a balding child who spoke only in riddles, a fire-bearer who led kings into battle beneath a dragon made not of silk, but of flame. And his story was lost until now. The tale begins around 510 AD, before Camelot, before the Round Table, before Excalibur had a name. Britain was broken. The Roman Empire had vanished like smoke on the wind, leaving only shattered roads and hollow forts. In its wake came chaos. Saxon raiders from the east, Pictish war bands from the north, and treachery from within. The land called for a king. It got a boy. Arthur Pendragon, barely more than a youth, sat on a throne forged of fear and prophecy. He had the power, but not the crown in men's hearts. He had the will, but not the wisdom. And into this fractured world came a stranger. Not a knight or a priest, a bard. They called him Emrys. He came cloaked in glamorous robes. His sight was gone, but when others saw him, they gasped. He was the most stunning man the court had ever seen. No one had any idea that this was the latest form of the powerful, shape-shifting wizard, Merlin. Across his back, he carried a harp that looked older than the walls of Caerleon itself. A fortress town built by the Romans and half forgotten by the Britons, turning into part palace, part ruin. When Arthur asked the stranger to play his harp, he asked for no coin, only silence. And when he played, even the winds seemed to stop and listen. His music was mournful and strange, notes that trembled like dying stars. Stories of burned kings, whispering forests, stones that wept. It wasn't entertainment, it was memory, of the past and of things to come. When the last note faded, Arthur, confused and unimpressed, asked what message the old man had brought. Emrys tilted his head. "I bring no message," he said, "only a warning." The warning was a riddle. When the wolf descends from the hills, let the dragon rise from the cloth, for only fire can answer fangs. Arthur smiled politely, while the lords roared with laughter. Only Guinevere did not. She was not yet queen, but already shrewd beyond her years. She watched Emrys, the way one might watch a falcon passing overhead. Beautiful, but dangerous. The king dismissed the bard, and for a while the court forgot his words. But fire remembers. Winter arrived early that year, and with it came war. From the shadowed woods of Caledonia rode a warlord called Colsadir, his name meaning the hunger of the wolf. A beast of a man, draped in wolf pelts and iron, with fire in his eyes and vengeance in his heart. He did not raid, he conquered. Colsadir shattered ancient stone circles, razed villages, and marched south with a fury the land had not seen in a generation. Arthur's people begged him to protect them. He rose to meet Colsadir. Riding by Arthur's side at the front of his army were Bedivere, Kay, Gawain, his loyal circle of steel. They made a camp in the north, near the edge of the old Roman road, beside the moss-choked remains of a forgotten fort. It had no name now. Its walls were cracked. Its towers had fallen into silence. But once, long ago, this had been a Roman stronghold, a fortress of Isca, built to command the wild frontier in the Scottish Highlands. After it fell into disrepair, people began to whisper that it was cursed, and that the stones bled in the rain. Now blackthorn trees crept through its broken arches, as ravens circled overhead. And there, amid the ruin, Arthur and his men waited. But courage cannot outpace exhaustion, and by the second night, the army was breaking. That night, as the moon stared coldly down, a child stepped into the king's tent. Arthur's guards stood, frozen, eyes glazed with something like awe, as the boy walked right past them. He was strange, balding, pale, no older than 10, yet with eyes like endless time. Arthur stood as he met the boy's eyes. "Emrys?" he asked. The boy nodded. "Give me your standard," he said, his voice strong yet raspy. Outrage exploded. Kay stepped forward, sword half drawn. Bedivere cursed. Gawain shouted. But Arthur raised his hand. He remembered the music of the harpist, and his warning. So he handed the boy the standard. The next day, Colsidir laid siege to Arthur's forces, cornering them on the edge of a ruined moor. The king stood in silence, staring down certain defeat. Then Arthur saw the boy climb a nearby hill, holding the standard. The cloth caught wind, and from it erupted the form of a great dragon of fire. The enemy screamed. Men dropped to their knees. Some wept, some fled. Arthur's army surged forward, their courage renewed by flame and magic. Soon, Colsidir's siege was broken. That night around the fires, Merlin appeared in his true form, and gave his real name to Arthur. That's when the king asked him to stay on at court, not as a weapon, not as a symbol, but as an advisor and guide. And for a time, the wizard remained by his side, not just in battle, but in council. It was Merlin who brokered uneasy truces with ancient enemies, Merlin who warned Arthur of any betrayals, Merlin who stood at the king's right hand as something deeper than a friend, and more sinister than a guardian. But the fire in Merlin's eyes never faded, and, even as he served, he watched the horizon, as if he knew something was coming, something not even dragons could burn away. Years passed. Even in Merlin's triumph, he knew he was no longer the man he once was. His hair had silvered. His hands shook sometimes when they summoned the stars. The court hungered for youth, for war, for glory. And though Arthur loved him, Merlin saw that the world was moving past him. Then, one spring, Nimue arrived. She came from the wilds, veiled in mist, riding alone along the edges of the enchanted forest of Broceliande. No one knew her name at first. Some whispered she was the daughter of the moon. Others claimed she was a spirit, a trickster fae, sent to test the pride of men. She was young, sharp-eyed, curious, and she wanted to learn magic. Merlin, though wary, was drawn to her. She reminded him of a flame in a dying hearth, flickering, alive, dangerous. He taught her small things at first, how to bend light, how to call the wind. Then he taught her ancient spells long buried beneath stone and silence. Words in tongues no longer spoken. The names of the stars that never fall. She listened and learned. One night, under a new moon, Nimue asked, "Is there magic to bind a man's soul inside a tree?" Merlin, smiling, told her yes. But it must be cast by someone the man trusts, someone he would never suspect, and who loves him. She kissed his cheek and said, "Tell me more." "Not yet," he replied. Months passed. One day, Merlin and Nimue stood by the hollow oak at the edge of the lake. The sky was pale and bloodless. Birds were silent. "Will you teach me the last spell?" Nimue asked. Merlin hesitated, then nodded. He gave her the spell that would imprison a soul forever. When Merlin finished the incantation, Nimue stepped close. She brushed his hair back from his brow and whispered the words he'd just taught her. The world shimmered, the ground shuddered, the sky dimmed. Roots rose from the soil like serpents. Vines snared his arms, his throat. Bark split across his skin. His breath thickened. His heartbeat slowed. "Why?" he whispered, his voice already fading. "Because even kings fear you now," Nimue answered, "and I couldn't let you become what you were becoming." His eyes closed, his body stilled, and Merlin became a tree. Twisted, towering, beautiful, terrible. Merlin, as we know him today, is a composite figure born of myth, bardic memory, and shifting political tides. Today, scholars debate whether there ever was a real Merlin. But perhaps that's the wrong question. What matters is that the legend persists. Merlin lives not as a man, but as a mirror, showing us the cost of knowledge, the fragility of power, and the wild, untamable magic at the heart of human history.